Hi everyone, my name is Corey, also known as GRC Corey, and in today's video I'm going to be discussing how to get into GRC. This is a follow-up to the first video of what is GRC, where I explained why GRC matters and what it is and how it affects businesses and people. And so in this video I'm going to discuss how to get into GRC and the steps you as the viewer can take today to get started. Let's get into it. Now, generally, there are three pathways to get into GRC. There is the educational, there is the certification, or there is the experience pathway. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that one pathway is the best pathway, because generally that's not the case. It takes a combination of one, two, or all three to get into GRC. Whether it be experience and certifications or experience and education, the common denominator being experience. And so later in the video, I'll explain further how you can get experience if you don't have any, and how you can tailor out your resume so it can align itself with GRC. The first pathway is the educational pathway. This pathway is going to be generally the most expensive and the most time consuming. But I do believe that there is still some benefits to it. The first being that it gives you that foundational based knowledge of cybersecurity, how cybersecurity works, how it functions, and gives you that knowledge of the technical and non-technical aspects of cybersecurity, how data flows and how to attack and defend, and versus the non-technical side of risk assessments, how to conduct a risk assessment, and how to build an IT security program. The second benefit to the educational pathway is that it gives you that check the box. I know it sucks, but it is what it is. It does give you that check the box on the resume though, that you do have a bachelor's. The third benefit to the educational pathway is that it allows you to build out your network with both the faculty and your fellow students. I'm sure the faculty at one point had worked in the industry, whether it be private or government, so you can build out the network with them, and hopefully that would allow you to maybe get some opportunities and work experience. Some of the educational programs as well, they do have internship programs and they have mentorship programs where you could potentially get work experience, and some of the programs even have exchange or partnership programs where if you were to go through that particular program, you can work with one of the companies like Amazon or Google or whatever it may be. Now, the second pathway to GRC is certifications. Certifications is a solid way to get into the industry, but like any of the pathways, it does have its benefits and it does have its drawbacks. The first benefit to certifications is that it is much more cost effective to get a certification than to go to school and get thousands of dollars into debt to get a bachelor's. It also gives you that check the box on the resume with recruiters as well. The second benefit to the certification pathway is that it gives you that fundamental knowledge in cybersecurity. It gives you those building blocks knowledge that you'll need to pass the interview and to be successful at the job. The third benefit to certifications is it gives you that name backing. Sometimes a name is weighted more than the certification itself. If you have a name behind you like ISC squared, CompTIA, or ISACA, just to name a few, this will definitely help you into getting pushed past the recruiters and getting that interview. And the drawbacks to certifications are that not all names are weighted the same in the certification world. Comparative to ISC squared or CompTIA or ISACA, whatever the names are, they're not all weighted the same. So you have to be selective with the certifications that you choose. And finally, the last drawback to certifications is that it might not be enough, unfortunately, where yes, it gives you those building blocks, those fundamental knowledge in cybersecurity. Having just a certification and no experience, it might not be enough to get you that job, unfortunately. And with that leads me to the last pathway of experience. Now, experience is pretty straightforward. If you have experience, you're probably going to get a job in GRC. And the more experience that you have, the easier it is to get a job in GRC. Now, there's good news and there's bad news to this. The bad news is that if you don't have experience, then it's going to be a bit more difficult to get into GRC. But the good news is if you do have experience, you will get into GRC. I know that sounds a bit silly. Yeah, of course. If I have experience, of course I'll get into GRC. But here's a little secret, but I think that they do not teach enough, is that if you do not have direct related experience in IT or cybersecurity, that's okay. That is okay. If you do not have direct experience in cybersecurity or IT, that is completely fine. Experience is experience, and the experience that you do have should never be discredited. And it's much easier than you think to tailor the experience that you do have and apply it to GRC, because GRC is such a wide area within cybersecurity. There is a lot of different skills and abilities that apply to GRC. Now, what are the things that you can do today to develop out your skills and abilities and to increase your chances into getting into GRC? First thing you can do to increase your chances to get into GRC is to build a network. Build a network. I cannot tell you how many times I have given that advice and it turned out it worked, because we are social creatures. We are meant to talk to each other and to help each other. And nobody gets in this world 100% by themselves. We have a team behind us to help us to get where we need to be, and it does not discredit you from getting that job, from getting that experience. So build out your network and utilize that network. Another thing that you can do to increase your chances to get into GRC is this. Let's say that you are in school or you have a certification and you don't have experience. For example, if you are in school, join your local IT club. Join the local IT club or cybersecurity club. Ask your faculty if there is one. And if there isn't one, build it yourself. That is bonus points right there. If there is not a club that is IT or cybersecurity related, build it yourself. And guess what? That is governance. Once you either build out that program where you get to build out the club of cybersecurity or IT, and you implement those policies, standards, and procedures, and the layout of the club, or if there's already a club, join the club, then work with your faculty member to get that experience. Universities also have IT infrastructure. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link below to a tool that I made that is based off of the NCSR, which is partly the CSF, the cybersecurity tool. I just updated it to the new version of the NIST 2.0. I won't get any further into it because that's just going to be a whole separate video. But what it is this. You take this tool and you go to your local faculty member and you say, hey, I want to help with deciding or understanding the maturity of your IT security program at the university. And I want to do this project. And you use this tool to then ask a series of questions to that faculty member. And I'm sure they're going to have the answer to these questions. And if not, you can easily find the answer because I'm sure they'll know somebody who maybe works at that university's SOC or whatever it may be. You ask these questions and you say, hey, this is the X question. And in the tool, there is a maturity model, 1 through 7. And 1 being the lowest and 7 being the best. When you ask these questions, you give it a ranking, which is related to the IT maturity program. And once you finish this tool, you would have laid out the IT security maturity program for that university, and you would have identified their weak points and their strengths in their IT security maturity. And so that's a great project right there, that you said that you've identified the maturity's weak points and strengths within your university's IT security program. Put that on your resume, and that is great to show that you understand an IT risk assessment and management. Now, let's say that you have a certification, but you don't have experience or you don't have an education. What you can do is whatever that certification you got, so let's say, for example, that the certification was from ISACA, join your local chapter. Join your local chapter and get involved. And once you join that local chapter, start asking around. Start asking around and say like, hey, what is some work that needs to get done, but it's just being procrastinated on or no one wants to do? Whatever it may be. And trust me, there's a lot within IT and cybersecurity. You figure that out and then you volunteer to do it. Volunteer to do it for free, man, because you will get that experience that you can put on your resume. And finally, let's say that you do have experience, but you do not have a certification or education. What you can do, and what I would recommend, is to get a certification. And since you already have, and it depends, let's say that you have experience, but it is not in IT or cybersecurity. Well, that certification will boost that chance of getting into GRC, and then tailor out your resume. Look at your job or your past experiences and ask yourself, how does this relate to GRC? How does this relate to risk? How does this relate to governance? How does this relate to compliance? And tailor that resume into a more GRC platform and its structure. That will definitely help you out, and trust me, I've seen it work, and I've seen people get callbacks for their resumes with things that had nothing to do, the experience that had nothing to do with cybersecurity. Like me, for myself, for example, I had work experience that had nothing to do with cybersecurity. I was in law enforcement and I did investigation for a total of 4 years. And I was able to tailor that into cybersecurity related work. Overall, those are the 3 pathways to get into GRC and into the industry, as well as the tips and tricks to bolster your chances of getting into GRC. As always, coffee up, and I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.